The false equivalencies that men make about women and men is pretty astounding. It's pretty remarkable how men will be like, oh, like it's always like this whataboutism, right? And it ends up being like they're just comparing like apples and oranges and trying to, like I said, they're trying to like falsely equivocate the things that men do versus the things that women do. We can't. As a man, I'm telling you, men, we can't. Men are harmful and destructive, and women are not. And when women say things from the perspective of a woman, the thing that they're saying does not harm anybody, and it's not rooted in some perverted ideology like the patriarchy or misogyny or masculinity or something like that. It's women are usually doing things to protect themselves and to protect other people, and men are typically doing things to prey on other people and to weaken other people. So when we have these discussions based around like what women can say and oh, but it's cool when they do it, it's a problem when I do it. Yeah, yeah, that's only a song. Like that doesn't apply. That doesn't apply to real life. You know what I mean? In real life, yes, there is a double standard, and all the double standards that exist, men created them.
I really want to know though, like, why do y'all do that with the whole men? When men say they don't want to get married, you shame them for it. When women say they don't want to get married, hand claps of praise, congratulations. Like recent examples: Paul Pierce, Tracy Ellis Ross. Y'all don't look at anything wrong with Tracy Ellis Ross for not wanting to be married and claiming that all the men who are her age are toxic. Paul Pierce didn't say all the women his age are toxic. He says marriage is reserved in his mind, from his perspective, for certain groups of people. He just don't think it's it for him. He think he lit right now. He free. He want to stay that way, and that's what it is. Tracy is complaining, saying that all the men that are her age engage in some form of toxic masculinity, and she has a full life and whatever else. And the younger dudes are better. Just they don't have that same toxicity with their masculinity. The reality is the young dudes don't know what the old dudes know about Tracy. That's the fucking truth. The old dudes can see through Tracy Ellis Ross. And it's the same thing with other women, like Charlize Theron talking about how she having sex with a 26-year-old. Nobody bats an eye. If a man that's 50 years old talks about how he's having sex with a 20-plus-year-old, women will be outraged. And it's really just that y'all need to mind your damn business. Men actually don't really care about the fact that Lala or Tracy Ellis Ross or Charlize Theron or who the hell ever is out there getting their rocks off with younger men. We just wish y'all would stop trying to shame older men for getting with younger women. It's stupid, especially considering that younger women always tend to want their men to be older, and younger women go after older men. Y'all were young going after older men, many of you. And now that the ball ain't in your court no more, you ain't the young shit in the club no more. You mad that now older men are going after younger women. And they're
This is why what you're saying it's stupid. Several reasons, but one of them is because they're older and they still have access to younger men. So wouldn't that negate the whole like, oh, y'all just mad because y'all ain't hot shit no more? Listen, Tracy Ellis Ross is sleeping with younger men. Charlize Theron sleeping with younger men. The other woman you named sleeping with younger men. They are the hot shit in the club, technically still, because they have access to the younger men. Right now, you try to excuse that by saying, "Oh, the younger men just don't know what we know." But the younger men don't care the same way the older men don't care because Tracy Ellis Ross, Charlize Theron, whatever, these women are very extremely attractive women. And that's the only thing men care about, old or young. So that's why those women will always have access to whatever group of men they want for the most part. That's just the reality, right? Because men are dumb. Because men only value the way a woman looks, right? Secondly, and this is not to take away from Charlize or from Tracy. They both could be beautiful. I think Tracy is an awesome person from what I could tell. I don't know. I don't know about Charlize. She seems a little weird to me. But anyway, um, uh, nonetheless, they could both be awesome people, right? Now, The whole like, oh, why are you sleeping with? I mean, it's a problem when men do it, but it's cool when women do it. Yes, absolutely. The reason why, like, I don't like age gap relationships in general. I don't. Um, I do think that most of the time they're predatory. But what I will say is that in both scenarios, in both scenarios, right? The woman is still more at risk than the man. So if a younger woman is dating an older man, she is at risk. If a older woman is dating a younger man, she is still at risk. She's at more of a risk of something bad happening to her with the younger man or the older man. It doesn't matter. The risk for the woman is relatively the same, no matter what group of men she dates. So I don't look at that and go, oh, that's bad. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's the likelihood that Tracy Ellis Ross is going to take advantage and damage a young man is not that high. It's not that likely that these women are going to damage these young men, right? Because there's, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's really not many ways that they could when you think about it. Um, but I would say not many ways. It's not the same ways. Like the threat of physical violence, the threat of what's it called, narcissistic abuse, things of that nature. Probably not going to happen with these women, right? To the men. So the men aren't really at risk. The men aren't really at risk at the end of the day. Again, would I would I still think it was odd to see a 50-year-old woman with a 27-year-old man? Yeah, I would. I definitely would think it was odd, but I'm definitely not judging it the same way as when a 50-year-old man is with a 27-year-old woman. It's not the same thing. Again, because the odds of some bad happening, the risk, all of that stuff, that is what I'm paying. That is what I'm looking at. That's the thing that I'm looking at. Because in a perfect world, it shouldn't matter what age. You see what I'm saying? In a perfect world, right? If everybody is protected and no party is going to take advantage of the other party, then you should be able, within reason, to date whatever person you want to. But that's not the world we live in. We live in a world of odds and chances and the likelihoods and whatever and things of that nature. And that's what we're going on. So there's that. Lastly, when men say that they don't want to get married, they are only doing that because what they want to do is they want to manipulate women. They want to control women. I said this earlier. When men do try to act like everything is like a one-to-one, this is a perfect example of that. When men say they don't want to get married, okay, whatever, but they still expect everything from that woman. They don't want to give her the commitment of a marriage, but they still expect her to do everything that a married woman would do for her married husband, for the husband, for her husband, I should say, right? Now, a Tracy Ellis Ross, a Charlize Theron, they don't expect these fucking boys, these young men, to take care of them and to do the same things for them as they would expect their husbands to do for them. It's not the same thing. So when men are running around here saying like, "Oh, I don't want to get married," these aren't men that are talking about being forever bachelors. There are men that are in committed relationships with women that have kids with women most of the time, and they be up here talking about, "Oh, I don't want the government. Why you need white man paperwork?" Again, Umar will be an example of that. 2 children out of wedlock. 2 children out of wedlock. But he don't believe him. He don't. Why do you need white man paperwork? What? I'm sure you got paternity proven on both of those kids. That's white man paperwork. That white man paperwork you cool with, but you don't want the white man paperwork that gives you some added level of responsibility for these people. No, you don't want that. See what I'm saying? So that's the difference. When men say that they don't want to do stuff like this, it is predatory. When women say they don't want to get married, they're protecting themselves. We're going to get into Tracy Ellis Ross and what she said in a minute. But those are the differences.
And it makes sense that they got less baggage, which would make more sense if Tracy Ellis Ross just said that. Like if she said, the older guys, I don't have any kids, anything. Older men come with a lot of baggage and trauma and whatever else. I would feel it. I would be like, damn, I could believe that, because that's what a lot of older men say about older women. It's like, man, she cool, she beautiful, but she got a lot of baggage, a lot of trauma, and all that other stuff that's done built up over the years from her past relationships. I understand that. When dealing with anybody that's older, you're more likely to encounter that. But just stop the bullshit. Stop the double standards and the bias. It's not even double standards. It's explicit and implicit bias. That's all y'all do. Y'all create a double standard in a way in your own mind, but really it's just, I'm biased against men and biased for women. That's all a lot of y'all are doing out here. It's just, when a woman does the same exact thing, I am for it. When a man does it, it's nasty and filthy, and he should be ashamed of himself. He's dirty. How's that gonna work? That's ridiculous.
The baggage that he's talking about, and I touched on this yesterday, but the baggage that he's referring to between about men and women are different. The baggage that men and women carry into their relationships are different. The baggage that Tracy Ellis Ross was talking about the baggage that men carry into relationships when she was talking about men being misogynistic, right? That is baggage. What do you think that is? That's baggage. And but the baggage that men are talking about, again, his baggage is going to lead to her downfall, her demise, her being harmed. Her baggage leads to her being protected. Her baggage isn't going to negatively impact him if he's a decent human being, if he treats her with respect. Her baggage will never show up. Her baggage is a shield. It's a protective hedge that she has grown around her to protect her from predatory men, from harmful and toxic men. And she has earned this. She has earned this battle armor by going into battle, by dealing with these men and healing up. So now she gets another badge. She gets another badge of honor, right? That she gets to cloak herself in. When she was 20, she was in a relationship with a narcissistic, abusive man, and she clocked some of his tendencies. Then when she was 25, she was in a relationship with another narcissistic. Now he's a physically abusive man, and she clocked his tendencies. And then at 30, she got married, and she got married to this type of and she's just piecing all of that stuff together. By the time she's 50, it's hard to manipulate a 50-year-old woman. Oftentimes, it's hard to manipulate. It's easy to manipulate a 20-year-old woman. Relatively speaking, it's easy to. If you're a 50-year-old man, it's going to be easier for you to manipulate a 20-year-old woman. If she wants to be with you, that's a different question. But I'm saying, if she wanted to be with you, it would be easier if you had two women, a 50-year-old woman and a 20-year-old woman. Which one will be easier to manipulate? The 20-year-old. Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's the difference. So again, it's this false equivalency. But what I want to get into now is, what did Tracy Ellis Ross say versus what did Paul Pierce say? Let's compare these back to back.
We've talked about this, that often I date younger men. And a lot of it is because...
Let's stop on that, folks.
Oh my God, we had a great dinner. We had a great dinner, by the way, where across the table, your husband goes, "But why?" And I said, "Well, maybe because I can."
Yes, Parish. This is what I'm saying. Tales from Tracy's.
It's fun. It's very fun to share.
Tracy tale.
But
I'm sorry.
But one of the reasons, though, that because I had to ask myself that question, I was like, "What is this about?"
Yeah.
Because I want a partner, and so often, and it's not just that I'm older. I'm also very embodied. I am a full, very whole person who knows myself, who is in charge of my life, and who lives a very full, just robust life. So it's not just age, it's like life experience and sort of a difference. But I had to ask myself the question, why? Why does this keep sort of coming up other than they're hot and gorgeous?
There's that.
There's that. But a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity. and have been raised in a culture where there is a particular way that a relationship looks. And anything that starts to smell of that for me, I did enough of it where I was controlled and felt like I was a possession or whatever those things were, or prize, and I have no interest in it, and I will not do it again.
That sounds very logical and rational. And it sounds like she's literally describing old men bringing in baggage. It's just the baggage is different. The baggage that the men are going to bring in to the relationship is going to be one where they are too rooted in their ways. They're not flexible enough, and they're not willing to learn. They're not willing to grow, things of that nature, right? And also her generation is the Gen X. You know, I'm sure, and she talked. Actually, I don't even have. I was going to make this assumption, but I remember now because this interview, she talked about the homophobia that the Gen Xers have, because she's talking about her generation. So she's talking about the homophobia, which is again just connected to misogyny and misogynoir and masculinity, and younger men, Gen Z, young millennials, things of that nature. She's described. I think she was talking about like 30-year-old men, so she's talking about like millennials. He's describing millennials. Millennials are less misogynistic. We're not, we are extremely misogynistic, but we're less misogynistic than Gen Xers. And we're less misogynistic than boomers. And we are less likely to have rigid views of relationships, which is also something that just happens with age, because you become more conservative typically with age. Right now, I am quite an anomaly when it comes to this, because I am becoming more and more progressive the older I get, right? And I do know of some older people that also become more and more progressive, because to be a progressive, you're always on this quest for knowledge. And the more you learn you don't know shit. And you know what I'm saying? And the more open you become, right? At least that's what it did for me. So I'm more progressive than I've ever been at 43. I was less progressive at 23 than I am at 43. At 23, I was very rigid, I would say, compared to how I am now. I was I was like anti-war, and I wasn't a capitalist, you know what I'm saying? Like I was in the vein, but I was really homophobic. I was extremely misogynistic. I was more rigid in how I looked at like relationships between children and parents, and you know what I'm saying? All these types of things. Not so much now, not at 43. I'm way more progressive than I've ever been. But most people aren't. Most people get more stuck in their ways, right? So it would make sense that she wants to avoid dating a 50-year-old man for that reason. Now, I already can hear you crashing out talking about, but that's what the men be saying about the women. But it's a difference, because the older women aren't going to abuse older men. That's not what the men are afraid of. They're not afraid of getting abused. They're afraid, again, that that woman is not going to allow him to abuse her the way that he wants to. That's what they're not going to like. That's what they don't like. See, that's the difference. But women are like Tracy Ellis Ross. She's concerned about being abused. She's protecting herself. Men are preying on women. Totally different. Totally different.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because I feel like every relationship shouldn't be based off sex, but every relationship is based off of that.
I don't think so.
100%. You can't tell me nothing different. This is what I feel, and that's why I'll never be in another relationship, because it's always based off of that.
So you're not going to be in another relationship?
Hell no. For what? Because it's going to be based off the sex. Once that wear down, you're going to go find somebody else that's better. Yeah. It ain't going to be based off of... This is the thing, and listen carefully.
I'm
listen
listening.
carefully.
I'm listening.
Relationships, let me tell you what marriage is all about. Or let me tell you what marriage is and who's marriage for. Marriage is for old people and poor people.
Okay, so let's get into that. Why?
Because when you broke, our parents, like my moms and all them, they married on a merit of like, okay, We're going to put our incomes together, have all these kids. And then when our kids, we're going to have 5, 10 kids back in the 60s, all them. They're going to have 5, 10 kids so they can work and bring income.
Yeah.
So you poor. So you married for that. And now when you get old, somebody that to be by your side to take care of you. Right now, my mom got married. My mom never been married in my lifetime. She got married when she was 70.
Wow.
It was perfect. She had somebody by her side the whole way through.
So do you...
I really believe that. Like, that's what, like, outside of that, it's no advantage to a man. Why is marriage an advantage? What advantage, what does it do for a man when things go south? Like, we gonna have to give up half our this, pay child support, but it's only advantageous to a woman. Like, it's real talk.
But what if you meet a woman and you're like, wow, she's a gem, she's valuable, she's everything, and I want to lock her down in marriage?
I don't want to lock no woman down. We could be cool.
I'm not gonna break down that whole thing because it's already been talked about a million times, and I've talked about it before. But I just want to show the videos back to back since that young man brought it up. So he said relationships are based off of sex. That's what they're all based on. No, sir. I'm sure the women. So make this make sense. This is what I'm saying. Listen to how he's contradicting himself. So if the relationships are all based off of sex, then why are you worried about money? Why don't you just keep fucking her good and y'all gonna stay married forever? If it's not advantageous for men to get married because the relationships are just about sex, which that doesn't mean anything. It's stupid. But I'm just saying, if that's your logic, then why are you worried about losing half of your shit? You see what I'm saying? Like obviously, marriages aren't for women. It's not based on sex, but for men, it is. For him, it is. He's projecting. All of his relationships are based on sex. He's a sexual deviant, and he doesn't see women as human beings. He sees them as objects, sexual objects, right? So all of his relationships are based on sex, right? Okay. But he's trying to act like all relationships are based on sex. Brother, let me tell you something. 80% of women don't even be coming. So how's it based? If it's based on sex, they are getting the raw end of the deal every single fucking time. Lastly, again, he is talking about marriage and how does it benefit men? Okay, marriage benefits men. We already know the numbers. Married men live longer, married men are healthier, married men are happier, and married men make more money than single men. Period, point blank. Then he said that marriage doesn't benefit men. And then he said marriage is for poor people and old people. Sir, that would apply to most men. Most men are poor and most men are young or old. But I'm saying that when you combine those two groups of people, right? Paul Pierce is speaking from the perspective of a multimillionaire, 100 times over. Okay. But that's not men. That is you, and that is wealthy men. If he were speaking specifically for wealthy men, I would still call bullshit. But I would be like, okay, I ain't, that's the way he feels, right? Because again, plenty of wealthy men are married and got married after they were wealthy. Jeff Bezos is a prime example. Anyways, that's not what it is, though, right? But I would give him that because whatever, that's such a small demographic of men. Who cares? But he said, how does marriage benefit men? Benefit men in general. But then he said earlier it was for poor people, sir. That's most men. So it does benefit men. Marriage does benefit men. And you know it. And this is my point overall, and I'm going to end it on this. Men, when they say that they don't want to get married, all they're doing is weaponizing the idea of we don't need to be on, have the white man's paperwork for me to extract every bit of value out of you to the woman. That's what these men are saying. Why we need to get married? See, all I want you for is your body. All I want you. Okay, like what? Marry me, like still, like what the fuck? That's crazy. Marriage is gonna protect the woman, protect the man, and protect the children from certain things. It ain't an end all be all. There's a bunch of shit it doesn't protect you from. But Marriage is an institution. That's all it is, paperwork. And certain things happen when you get married. And you can say there's pros and cons. I can't think of a con to being married. There's no con to being married. There's only pros. There's only pros to being married for men, I'm saying. Right? There's only pros to being married. But no, I take that back. There's only pros to there's only pros to being married for men. There are a few cons to being married for women. And before you say to the people that understand, like, I know that marriage doesn't benefit women overall. That's not what I'm saying. The institution of marriage is beneficial to both men and women in general. It is, and children in general. The institution of marriage. Again, if you separate a relationship from the marriage, from the institution, now we're having a totally different discussion. The question now becomes, are relationships beneficial to women? And no, the answer is no. Yes, the answer is no, right? Relationships are not beneficial to women. Marriages, the institution of marriage overall I think they are because I'm thinking about some major things, but for the most part, yes, they are beneficial. It is beneficial to women, right? I'm just thinking about little things that are like, that's weird. Certain states, they got certain rules. If you're married to a man, women have to go through certain loops to get certain things done and certain permissions or whatever, but that's not in most of the 50 states. So yeah, marriage benefits women overall, it benefits children overall, and it benefits men overall. That's not the question. The question is, does the relationship serve the women? And the answer is no, 99% of the time. 99% of men aren't worth a woman being in a relationship with in any capacity, whether it be a marriage or cohabitating or whatever the case may be. That's the problem. The problem is the relationship, not the institution of marriage. So at the end of the day, men are just trying to do everything we can to maximize our we want to get more than we give. We want to maximize our like what we receive, but we don't want to have to we want our rewards to significantly and substantially outweigh our risks. That's the best way to say it. We want the rewards to significantly and substantially outweigh our risk. We don't want to have to take any risk, but we want the world in return. And that's why these types of men be so hell-bent on downplaying marriage and be like, oh, I want to get married and all that bullshit. That's what it is.